Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep, deep into a story that's, well, it's a bit of a tangled web. Art, politics, mystery, you name it. We're talking about the assassination of Naji al-Ali.
A name that might not be on everyone's radar.
Right, but his art, it's become like this powerful symbol, especially for Palestinians.
Absolutely, a Palestinian political cartoonist, al-Ali. His work, let's just say it was both loved and, well, feared. He gave a voice to those who didn't have one, used his pen to take on power structures, expose what was wrong.
And then,
Silenced, tragically. Gunned down in London, 1987. And the mystery, still unsolved.
okay, so back it up a bit. Who was Naji al-Ali? Where did he come from? What made him tick?
Well, you can't separate his story from the Palestinian experience. Born in Galilee, a village there around 1938, but then, boom, 1948. The Nakba, as Palestinians call it, catastrophe, his family forced to flee, ended up in a refugee camp in Lebanon, Ain al-Hilweh.
Can you even imagine that as a kid? All that upheaval.
It shaped him, for sure, and it comes through in his work big time. Exile, displacement, searching for identity, all those themes. His cartoons, they were his way of dealing with it all, giving voice to the Palestinians in exile and, well, challenging those in charge.
And he didn't just stay in Lebanon, right?
Yeah.
Worked all over, ended up in London, where it all happened.
You got it. Newspapers in Kuwait, Lebanon, then London. And the amount of work, staggering. Over 40,000 cartoons in his career.
Whoa, that's dedication.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the quantity, but the impact,
A
right?
huge impact. The Guardian called him the nearest thing there is to an Arab public opinion. His cartoons, they really spoke to people across the Arab world, especially Palestinians. They saw their own lives, struggles, hopes reflected back at them.
But that kind of influence, taken on the powerful, that can be dangerous.
Yeah, you don't win popularity contests that way. Al-Ali, he had his share of threats. There was even an attempt on his life back in '83, stabbed. So, yeah, there was a sense that he wasn't exactly safe leading up to '87.
So that day, the assassination, walk us through it. What happened?
July 22nd, 1987. Al-Ali. He's walking to his office in London at the Kuwaiti newspaper Al-Kabas. And as he gets close, bam! Gunman shoots him in the neck.
Just like that, broad daylight.
Bold, right.
Yeah.
Witnesses saw a man running away, but the investigation, massive. But the killer, never found.
And Ali.
Rushed to the hospital. He fought for 5 weeks, but in the end, he succumbed to his injuries. August 29th, 1987.
What about the police? Any leads? Suspects?
It was a winding road, that investigation. They started with this Palestinian researcher, Ismail Sowan, arrested soon after, had a bunch of weapons.
What did he confess?
Well, not quite. His story, it's a messy one. First, he says he's PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. Then he flips it, claims he's a double agent working for the PLO, and get this, the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence.
Wait, double agent. Sounds like a movie.
Adds to the intrigue, huh? But it's more questions than answers. Was Sowan really involved or just a patsy? Was there someone else calling the shots?
So we have this public murder, a victim known for his powerful cartoons, and a possible suspect linked to both sides. This is getting more and more complex. Where do we even go from here?
Well, to understand the full picture, we need to really look into the theories about why al-Ali was killed and who might have wanted him gone.
All right, so this is a serious web of intrigue we've got going on here surrounding al-Ali's assassination. You mentioned earlier theories and motives. Where do we even begin to try and unravel this?
Well, let's not forget the backdrop of al-Ali's work. He wasn't just going after Israel. His cartoons, they often targeted Arab leaders and regimes too, exposed corruption, hypocrisy, the whole 9 yards. He made enemies, and not just on one side.
Multiple enemies, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So who are the main players people suspected? You brought up the Mossad and the PLO.
Those were the two big ones, yeah. There were folks who believed the Israeli Mossad might have been behind it, because of Ali's constant criticism of Israeli policies toward Palestinians.
Makes sense given his outspoken nature. Was there any evidence to back that up?
Well, after the assassination, the British government, they actually kicked out 3 Israeli diplomats. They suspected them of being involved in the killing. But no hard proof, nothing concrete linking the Mossad directly to the crime ever came out publicly anywhere.
Okay, so that's the Mossad side. But what about the PLO? What reason would they have to want al-Ali silenced?
Well, remember, al-Ali, he was a critic of injustice wherever he saw it. And that included sometimes calling out Palestinian leaders too. He wasn't afraid to point out problems within the PLO, which, well, let's just say it might not have sat well with everyone in the organization.
And there was that quote, right, from al-Ali himself to that Palestinian writer, Dr. Bassem Sarhan, just days before he was killed.
Oh, yeah, that one. He said, "I entrust you, whoever my killer may be, my killer is Yasser Arafat." Powerful words, directly pointing the finger at the PLO chairman himself.
That's a bold accusation, to put it mildly. Was there any truth to it, though?
Well, gotta be careful here. The context of that quote, even if it's accurate, has been debated. But some people see it as al-Ali, fearing a faction within the PLO, maybe acting on Arafat's orders, to shut him up.
So are we saying Arafat was capable of ordering a hit on someone like al-Ali, a man seen as a hero by many Palestinians?
That's a tough one. Arafat, he was, well, complicated. A revolutionary leader, sure, but he could be ruthless, when it came to holding on to power. There's this other quote supposedly from him where he threatened al-Ali, said he'd put his fingers in acid if he kept drawing.
Yikes. If that's true, it paints a pretty chilling picture of Arafat. Not exactly someone who tolerated criticism.
It does, but again, we can't be sure if it's accurate. There's no solid proof tying Arafat to the assassination.
So we had these two main suspects. The Mossad, maybe acting because of Ali's criticisms of Israel, and then factions within the PLO, maybe silencing someone from their own side. What about Ismail Sowan, the double agent? Where does he fit into all of this?
The million-dollar question. Was he a pawn? A fall guy? Or a key player in the whole thing? Unfortunately, the investigation never really gave us a clear answer.
You mentioned before the gun used in the murder was found. Did that lead to any progress in the case?
Nope, not really. They traced it back to a bunch of weapons stolen from some arms dealer in the U.S., but no arrests, no solid link to any of the suspects.
So years go by, multiple suspects, intriguing clues, and the case just stays cold. Did the investigation just stop there?
Not completely. They actually reopened the case in 2017, 30 years after Ali's murder. Scotland Yard said they were reviewing the evidence, asking for new information.
Was there any hope that after all that time, something new might come up?
There's always hope. People's memories can change. Maybe some witnesses were scared to talk back then, but now, maybe they'd come forward.
Did anything concrete come from that new investigation?
Sadly, no. No major breakthroughs that we know of, at least. The case of Naji al-Ali's assassination remains unsolved, which is, well, pretty frustrating for anyone looking for justice for this man who spoke truth to power through his art.
It's a sobering thought. This talented artist, using his voice to challenge the way things were, silenced in broad daylight. And decades later, we still don't know who did it or why.
It definitely makes you think, doesn't it? It speaks to the complexity and the danger of political activism, especially in a place like the Middle East.
So where does that leave us? What can we take away from this deep dive into al-Ali's life, his work, and his unsolved mysteries surrounding his assassination?
Yeah, it's one of the stories that sticks with you. An artist, right? His work, it touched so many people, used his platform to shine a light on what was wrong, and then boom, gone. And the mystery's still hanging there after all these years. It makes it even more tragic.
It really does. And it shows you sometimes justice, it takes time, a long time.
Yeah.
Especially when politics gets mixed in. But the thing is, al-Ali's work, it's still out there. It's still making an impact. Yeah, his cartoons, people still share them, especially online. It's like they capture a moment in time, but the themes, they're still relevant. Human rights, free speech, the Palestinian struggle, all of it.
Exactly. And what makes them so powerful, I think, is the symbolism. He wasn't just drawing funny pictures of politicians. It was deeper than that. These images, they spoke to bigger truths, Power, oppression, fighting back.
And Handala. You can't talk about Ali without talking about Handala, that little refugee boy always with his back turned.
Handala, he's more than just a character in a cartoon. He's like the symbol of the Palestinian diaspora. All those people forced from their homes, still wanting to return.
And it's like sad, but powerful too. His back turned, like he's refusing to acknowledge the world until things are right.
Al-Ali said that, actually. Handala would stay faceless, turned away, until Palestine was liberated. It says a lot about the Palestinian struggle, It's not over. That quest for self-determination.
It's like Handala's watching, waiting for the day he can turn around, face the future. There's hope in that, right? Even when things are bad, the dream of a free Palestine is still alive.
Resilience. That's what he stands for. Not being silenced, not being forgotten. And that's why al-Ali's legacy, it still inspires people decades later. He showed us what art can do. Challenge the way things are, give a voice to those who don't have one, keep hope alive, even in the face of tragedy.
So for our listeners, if they're interested in al-Ali, want to see his work, understand it better, where should they start?
See the cartoons. There are collections online, libraries. They're striking, those black and white images, sharp satire, the symbolism. It's like a visual feast.
Yeah.
But it also takes you back to a crazy time in the Middle East.
And if you want to learn more about al-Ali himself, there are documentaries, articles about his life, the assassination. Maybe check out the BBC's website. They have a whole section on al-Ali.
And don't stop there. Look up other Palestinian artists, writers. Al-Ali, he was part of something bigger, a whole cultural movement using art to fight back, preserve their identity, keep the dream alive.
It's a story that's still being written, even today. Naji al-Ali might be gone, but his work, his message, that image of Handala, they're still powerful. They remind us of the struggle for justice, for self-determination.
His life was cut short, yeah, but his legacy, it's still alive. Inspiring artists, activists, anyone who believes in the power of art to speak truth to power.
One voice, a pen, and a passion for justice. It can change the world. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Naji al-Ali.
My pleasure.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive. Until then, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep digging.